Well, we had a relationship with Film 45, Peter Berg's company, and they knew Amaryllis and had been talking with her, and they introduced us, and we sat down with her and had a meeting and just talked with her. I think we had a beer or two. We talked with her for like 3 hours, took copious notes. We were like, do you mind if we, because of course she's like a former operative, so. But you know, that was, we heard her story, and that was one of the main things when she told us that every time she takes a trip to one of these places that are dangerous, she writes a letter to her daughter and hides it or keeps it with a good friend, and in case the unthinkable would happen, like every time. And then when she comes back and she's safe with Zoe, her daughter, she burns it. And as soon as she told us that, Rena and I sometimes will have this like silent sister communication, and I'm pretty sure that was one of the moments we were like,
we have to make this story.
yeah, we have to make this story. It's so powerful, and yeah.
We sat there and then we were like, okay, this is your emotional conflict. And she just like took a swig of her beer and she was like, okay. That was like a 3-hour therapy session. But yeah, we knew right then that we had to make the film.
Yeah.
One of the greatest compliments we got was it got very high up legal chain at CNN and Pete Berg's company, and they came back and said like, fucking love it, but am I watching a doc or a narrative? We were like, yes,
thank you.
We're obviously really passionate just about filmmaking, and our type of filmmaking is, we're not interested in creating like informational documentaries. We really gravitate to characters, and characters just tell the story. And her story was so, like, once we realized that the conflict was really like her desire to go out and make the world a better place, but at the risk of, you know, never seeing her daughter again. We're like, it's just such a great, you know, conflict. And so I think the axis of the film really hinges on that, and visually, that was our approach to really shoot it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like for us, like bringing the narrative feel to, and narrative technique also to documentary is just very exciting for us. We, you know, are making the transition into going to narrative, so it's such a great challenge to, like what Rena was saying, once we really figured out her emotional conflict, and to really tell a story based on a character and really going into their personal, intimate world. So everything that we shot and talked about with her and every situation that she was in, it was all about that main thread and that arc of her emotional conflict. Is she going to be safe, and at what risk is she doing these things and risking her relationship with her daughter? So that, yeah, that's a little bit of
it was
our
just
process.
more, yeah, and I think it was just more interesting than, like, we could have interviewed a bunch of experts.
Right.
And
Sure.
we were just like, that's not interesting as storytellers for us. And I think, yeah, I think the thing, I mean, visually, it was the new spot that we did. It's very different from a lot of our work, but I think story-wise, we're always trying to get to just like the heart of the matter. Like we're always interested in the subtext and the unconscious things that a character may be doing. And it's just, for us, any project, whether it's a doc or a narrative or a commercial, we're always trying to sort of get beneath the surface a bit, because it's just, I don't know, more interesting, I think, to us. But
Yeah.
most of the time, we're pretty much on the same page. I mean, we really we have this sort of like shared skill set, so we're a little bit like a old married couple in a way. But we both write. I'll do a little more of the writing. We conceptualize stuff together. We obviously direct, and then Nadine edits, and so we're very, it's always sort of ping-ponging. Yeah. But then, you know, we've worked together on so many projects that we really trust the creative process. And so when there are differences, we instead of just rejecting them, we're very okay, well, that's interesting, that's your perspective. And I think at the end of the day, when we do have differences, it actually makes the creative stronger.
Yeah.
Because it's just a different perspective, and we are problem solving.
Yeah. And then sometimes if we're working with somebody, like a editor or producer or DP, we'll put them in the middle and be like, well, what do you think? And we're like on total opposite. Yeah, and they're like, oh, they don't want to like this.
And I
It's
think
a fun little game.
Yeah, and when it works like in the field, I think one of the advantages for us when we're directing is we're very quick to know when something's not working, if we're not getting the performance out of talent that we need, and we just do this silent kind of sister speak, and then we like separate and kind of attack it. Like one person goes and is like, and it looks like we're just chit-chatting.
Yeah.
But we're very strategic and like, okay, this, we're not getting the, and then the other is like talking to the DP and we'll do like roll 50-50.
And like we have a really like specific process with how we run our sets. Like it's just very important to us. Like when we, are beginning our shoot day one, before we actually roll a frame, we really like to like gather everybody, crew and talent if possible, and just talk about what we're about a little bit, and that, that everyone's job and part on the set is super important to us, and just to kind of have that like baseline of just respect and consciousness on set. It just makes for a better shoot and better product and better creative, and also especially when we're working with real people, with documentary characters, it's so important for us that they feel comfortable and that they have that trust. So when they walk in to set, it's an intentional feeling. They're not just like, oh God, where am I going? They feel comfortable so that they can open up. Or sometimes we'll do like we did with Amaryllis, where we had the interview set up intentionally, kind of making her feel a little bit off, or what is this? Uncomfortable, to kind of create a visceral experience, so that whatever we're asking her and what she's talking about, it's a little bit charged, and that's kind of on purpose. So everything is really with intention.
Best way to speak about it is just through our experience. For us personally. We were on, over the past 2 years, we were on 2 different commercial rosters, and 2 great companies, like A-list companies, amazing. But we just found that for us to be on a roster with like these very large, we were like the only women on the roster, and we were, competing for jobs against like these very established male directors. It just kind of felt like tokenism. And
like bottom feeding.
A little bit of bottom feeding. And like when you're on a roster, this is sort of like when you're a building commercial director, there's this sort of like idea that, oh, well, it'll just trickle down. Like Steve Rogers will pass on a job and then you'll get it. And like, that didn't really work out so well for us. And then we had the experience where we were just, we're out in the world and we're very, involved in art and music, and we would just meet people from different brands, and brands were just coming to our website directly and emailing info@mundosisters.com. And so we kind of just had this like aha moment, like why are we on a roster if like the work we're getting is not as creatively interesting? And so I think our strategy, we're kind of, I don't know, we're just like, we kind of opted out of that system a little bit. We're just like, we want to work with brands that support women and women directors, and where we have a relationship and there is that trust, because so much about, for us, women getting the problem with women not getting hired by brands and agencies is there's this, it's a creative field, so there's always this like, well, I don't trust that they're going to get the job done, or like we just had this intuitive, like it's this gut thing, and it's like, what is that about? It is about trust. If you're unfamiliar with working with someone, then you're gonna not have that trust. So for us, it's really about like having relationships where people know how hard we work and how whatever we deliver is always stellar.
Relationships, and also we're really interested in doing longer form storytelling as well. Like I think like part of the decision of leaving a commercial production company is we don't want to just be doing commercials. That's a part of what we love doing, but we really love longer form, and getting into narrative. So I think going on our own has allowed us to kind of expand our wings a little bit more and be able to do, you know, stuff for CNN Films, work on scripted television, also pitch on and do commercials. So it's exciting. It's kind of like, it feels like the doors are wide open. And I think for us, we find that we have a lot of success when we're constantly like finding characters and thinking of stories and writing stories and just generating ideas. And when we have the opportunity and the ability to do that from the ground up, whether it's just on our own and then we bring it to a brand or a studio, or it's a collaborative process with the agency or studio or brand, it just, for us, that's really the sweet spot. I feel like that's where we can really shine and succeed. So